Welcome, everyone, to another episode here on RNFM Radio, January 22nd, 2014, and we're on the pulse of nursing, so stay tuned. Well, all right, and again, you're tuning in to RNFM Radio, and we're on the pulse of nursing. I'm Kevin Ross, hanging out in my studio in Colorado. This is January 22nd, 2014, and we've had a few technical delays this afternoon, and of course, the show's not live at the moment due to these technical difficulties, but we are persevering, pushing through, and making this happen because, well, we love the community out there, the listeners, and of course, wanted to bring you some valuable content to soak up little nuggets of information that we've got today for you, and I just am glad to be here, even technical difficulties abound. I just want to make it work for you. So again, I'm Kevin Ross, hanging out in my studio in Colorado. Keith Carlson, hanging out in New Mexico. Even though, barring the technical difficulties, he has stuck with me through this process. Keith, how are you today, sir?
I am good, Kevin, and sometimes it's humbling to have some technical difficulties, even for a tech guru like you, so I think we're just doing okay. Everything's going to come out in the wash, and I'm just happy to be here. This is, as you said, January 22nd, 2014, and it's episode number 99, Kevin. So number 100 is coming up just next week, and it's an exciting time. So why don't we give a little intro, and then we'll dive into a nice conversation today just between you and me.
Well, that sounds fantastic, Keith. And like I said before, we are chock full of nuggets today that I think you're going to appreciate as an entrepreneur, and whether you're an entrepreneur or not. I mean, it's about your own personal brand and how you can utilize that social media, that technology in your business, in your personal lives, and what's going on out there. So again, all of our information, we're hanging out on RNFM Radio, and that would be rnfmradio.com. So all of that information about the show, about the community, about Keith and myself and the platform, really, you just got to head over to rnfmradio.com because otherwise you won't be as apprised of the latest and greatest. So feel free to subscribe to that feed over there. We'd be happy to have you sign up, and we'll shoot you out the latest blog posts and, of course, all of the audio that we have here from the podcast. If you are a subscriber, we certainly appreciate all the subscribers out there. We still are under that hashtag RNFM Radio, so RNFM Radio on Twitter. Now, at RNFM Radio is our handle over there on Twitter, and we post things under the hashtag RNFM Radio. So if you follow that hashtag, feel free to post questions, comments, feedback, anything that you want to. Just use that hashtag, and we'll find it, and we'll certainly bring some of that content on the show. Now, we're still on iTunes over under the podcast section, RNFM Radio, all one word. You can find us over there on podcast. And we are so proud to be members of the ProMed Network at promednetwork.com/RNFM Radio. And that is actually where we hang out. Jamie Davis of The Nursing Show over there. We are friends, and I would say even colleagues, and certainly proud to be over there on that site and that platform. So certainly give them some love and a shout out to let them know that we sent you over there on ProMed Network. There's so many fantastic shows. Of course, ours is over there as well. Now, we don't have a call-in number because we're not live right now. This is just going to be an archive podcast. But if there's anything that you have on your mind that you want to share with us, 720-466-3022. That's the number that you can leave a voicemail or text us, and we'd be happy to bring any of that on the show too, because we want to share with the community what you're feeling and what your feedback is. So, of course, keep it G-rated because we'd like to be a family show as well, so just keep that in mind. And, of course, at the end of this particular show, we'll give you a roundup of the upcoming guests at the end of the show. That's a mouthful. And of course, I'll certainly lead in here with the topic of discussion today, but of course, welcoming back my co-host Keith Carlson here. Keith, technically, it seems like you see me on video now. I'm not buffering in and out or like delayed, am I? Do I look okay?
Not now. You look great, Kev. Nice to see you.
All right. Well, we had an amazing guest today, didn't we? But unfortunately, due to some personal hiccups in this person's life, we unfortunately were unable to bring her onto the show. And so, again, we wanted to push forward here and continue with our regularly scheduled programming. Because we know you expect these regular shows and we expect to be here and we're here for you. And so we're just going to push through and offer you, again, some additional nuggets of information. And we hope that Olga Carmichael will be able to join us at a later date. So we won't belabor the point. We just wish her well and well wishes to her family, friends, and, of course, herself. And Olga, this is a shout out and sorry that we missed you on our show today. But like I said, we'll push forward. So today, Keith, I wanted to take this opportunity. Keith and I were actually talking in the car on the way here. I left my offices. I had some meetings today, and we were just trying to figure out how we were going to, what direction we wanted to take this show in today. And so I wanted to offer up a few nuggets of information for our community out there when it comes to some of the latest social media platforms, what's going on in the news, specifically what's going on with Facebook, what's going on with Google Plus and YouTube. There's a lot of news out there that's confusing, that's concerning about your own security. How do we protect that as a business owner, as a brand, and really just personally, how we shield you from some of the things that could be occurring in your lives and in your businesses by offering you this information so that you too can be informed and prepared for what's to come. And I think we'll just go ahead and launch the Facebook topic here, Keith, that I wanted to talk about. And that is, now, Keith, I was going to ask you, have you heard anything about, and if you haven't, that's okay, about with Facebook now, we all have our news feeds on Facebook, right? So we see the news feed from the pages that we like, from the friends and family that we are friends with and connected with. But somehow our news feeds are actually getting a little bit more on the slimmer side. We're not seeing as many posts from the pages that we like, the brands that we like, and from the friends and family that we interact with. At least this is actually what's going on out there, Keith. What Facebook is actually doing is they are limiting our exposure to those friends and family and those pages and brands that we like so much. We're not actually getting all of the news in our news feeds. I don't know if you were aware of that.
Well, I've heard something about that. I've also heard that as business owners, some of us who have pages like the RNFM radio page or Nurse Keith coaching page, that there's actually not as much visibility of what we put up on there as well. And that's something I'm a little confused about personally. And maybe you could shed some light on all these changes that seem to be happening.
Well, hopefully I can at least give you my opinion on what direction I think Facebook is heading into. And I think first and foremost, it is a business. And their business model, just like Google, is advertising. And so Facebook is taking it upon themselves to really kind of take some of that choice away from us. So if we choose to like a page, a brand, a page, or again, friends and family who want to share personal information, valuable information, Facebook actually wants a piece of that. And the way they're doing it is that whether it's a personal post or a business post, they want you to pay them to boost that post. Now, I think you're even on a personal perspective. So, Keith, if you were at a wedding that you just thought was just beautiful, you know, the sun was setting, it was on the water, you got some fantastic video and photo footage, and you wanted to share that with me, or at least your followers, I might not see that. But Google's going to give you the option to pay, I think it's $6.99 to boost that post, those photos and video.
Now, are you saying this is also the case with personal posts, or is this just for business pages?
No, this is actually personal. So
Wow,
Facebook is taking a personal dig here into our lives, into what we want to know more about from our friends and family. But they have really taken control over the businesses and the brands. Because, for instance, now you entrepreneurs out there, if you're a brand or a business and you have a branded or business page, I bet you have noticed, and if you haven't, go look at your analytics. Go to your Facebook page as a Facebook manager and look at your analytics, and I guarantee you will see a decrease in those analytics. I will
Wow.
guarantee it.
So, Kevin, what does this mean for, say, the small nurse entrepreneur like myself? What does this mean for our business and in terms of our viability and also our visibility?
Well, those are great questions, Keith. And to answer that, first and foremost, you really have to ask yourself the question before all of this fiasco with Facebook, how much engagement were you getting with Facebook? And so, if Facebook was a primary platform for you to create engagement, to build community, because I should preface it with to say that what we try to do with these communities, or our global attempt really, is to build a community, to
Hmm.
offer valuable information.
Right.
We like people liking the pages and interacting, but really we want the community there. So, what kind of engagement were you getting prior to this, the last few weeks? And
Hmm.
would it be worth it for you to spend a little bit of extra money to boost posts?
That's
Especially
a
if you're
good
already,
question.
yeah, especially if you're already advertising.
Right.
But let's
Th-
back that up. Well, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Keith.
No, I'd say that's a great question. I actually honestly haven't really followed the analytics on my uh, business page, my Facebook page. So I'm not quite clear how it has changed, though I have an intuitive sense that it has, because even at the bottom of the posts, it tells you how many people have seen that particular post.
Right.
And I used to notice it would say 40 people saw this post, 50 people saw this post. Now I'm noticing six, seven, eight, maybe 10 people see each post. So I've noticed a major change over the last, I don't know, maybe 3 to 4 months.
Right. It has been. It seems like it has been a gradual shift, but quite frankly, I think Facebook has been sort of peppering this in throughout within the code in itself. So,
Mm.
I mean, I think some people have felt like the brakes just literally stopped. Like all of a sudden, like one week I have 100, in my reach, and just yesterday I have like five. So some folks haven't really seen the gradual decline, and others have really, when they go look at as you say, how many people have seen this post, like, wait a minute, five, six people saw it? I mean, I've got like, 20,000 Facebook likes. How is that even possible?
Mhm.
So if you don't know, go to your Facebook admin panel, and really, it's really easy. So go to your Facebook page, your profile, and then go on the left side of the margin and click on the pages that you manage, and your admin panel should pop up right away, front and center. And if you scroll through total reach, you'll see that for the most part, let's say, I don't know, a couple months ago, you had a reach of 100, 200, and then you start seeing the dwindling, goes from like 200, because right now we can say 200 to 88 to 71, 74, kind of hangs out, and then 50, and then all of a sudden goes from 80 down to the 20s,
Mhm.
even on RNFM radio. And the thing is that we don't want to inundate you with spam. We pride ourselves in posting valuable content that we feel like you're going to be interested in, not to mention we post things that support our community members. Because
Right.
if there's one of you out there that listens and you're like, hey, I just wrote this really fantastic blog post that I think you guys will love, and we like, yeah, we do love it. Let's post it on RNFM radio. We want to share it, and we want to promote you. But we try to take the power of our platform to help you. But unfortunately, Facebook is stifling that. Even though we have such a tight knit community over there on Facebook, Facebook is actually filtering that out.
So, Kevin, here's the question. Or comment and a question. There's people out there talking about that maybe it's not really worth spending much time or money on Facebook anymore. Some people say, well, we've gotten a free ride for a long time. We should be paying for our posts because they've given us a free ride all these years. There's others who are saying, well, let's just hop over to Google Plus, let's hop over to Twitter, and let's just leave Facebook in the dust. So
Hmm.
if you, well, you are a nurse entrepreneur. I'm not going to say if you were. So as a nurse entrepreneur, what can one do if one feels like Facebook isn't really a great place to spend much time, energy, or resources.
Well, I think this is a fantastic segue, Keith, because there
Okay.
are alternatives out there. Now, first and foremost, like I said, you got to figure out where your target audience is. Now,
Hmm.
here's the interesting piece, and I'm sure folks are going to cringe when they hear this. But if your target audience is, let's say, teenagers into like young 20s, well, let me just tell you, they're not on Facebook. The quotes out there are that the kids are saying this pretty much if you're north of about 25 years old, you're
Hmm.
old. Old people are hanging out on Facebook. That and of course, like I said, when you're north of 25, then forget it. You might as well be looking toward retirement and life is over and whatnot. Of course, in the minds and eyes of these teens and very early 20 somethings. So um, that's the thing. If you're working, so for instance, like if we were targeting kiddos to work on pediatric diabetes and focusing it on that group, well, here's one thing: you're not necessarily going to reach the kiddo per se, but you'll probably reach the parents
Hmm.
because the parents are on Facebook. Kids have had a mass exodus away from Facebook because the older folks are on there and they're watching us. So they're on other platforms now. They're transitioning. The one of the major platforms that they have moved over to is YouTube. Now, folks over there, that population, the younger population, is definitely gravitating toward YouTube as a source of entertainment and as a source of information. They're also using their heavy, heavy, heavy Twitter followers or Twitter users over there. And I personally use Twitter as my news feed to grab anything when it comes to pop culture, health and wellness. I mean, I can set up tags and I can really filter what it is that I want to. Where Facebook doesn't really give you that usability, it doesn't give you that ability to filter what you want like Twitter does. So, like I said, if you want to follow a particular hashtag or you want to follow certain tags, then you can set it up so that it will certainly you get access to what you want, the news that you want, the information that you want.
Right.
So I personally, Keith, you were going to say when it comes to advertising and promotion, I have
Hmm.
to give it a thumbs down.
Hmm.
So I dislike this one very much. When it comes to that like button, I dislike it heavily. I am one to say, do not, especially from your analytics, if you really feel like you haven't, if you're not gaining all that much traction from a business, then just don't do it. It's not worth it because even if you boost those posts and you're actually getting what you used to get without paying or boosting those posts, you've got to really look at your return on investment. And we're talking, you can say, well, it's only going to cost me $5 to boost the post for maybe a day and maybe reach 1,000 people. But again, what kind of engagement were you getting anyway at that level? Now, if you were getting a ton of engagement, it might be worth it to you. But I would say probably 95% or more, it's just not worth it, especially for nonprofits, small businesses. Now, if you're a larger corporation, those are the things that you're seeing in the margin. Those are the things that you're seeing. This is a sponsored ad, like this, share this, blast it out. That's GM, that's Ford, that's Pepsi and Coke doing those
Hmm.
things because they can afford to do it. But as a,
Okay, so if many of us are going to leave Facebook in the dust in terms of our businesses, and maybe we'll keep, a mild presence there. I may still engage with my followers there because there's quite a few. Where do we go? I know YouTube is possible. I'm
mhm.
actually going to start using YouTube this year. I'm going to set up a channel and start doing video. But what about Google Plus? Let's touch base on that because that's a place where it seems many people are migrating.
Yeah, well, some might say Google Plus, Google's doing a good job, and some would disagree. Here's the thing. Let me preface this with the whole "I don't understand it" aspect. Well, that's probably true,
Hmm.
but it's one of those things that I try to explain, and I don't want to get into sort of a Windows versus Mac OS system, but I use Mac. It's very easy. There are fewer steps. There's less to really wrap your head around. But again, I don't want to get in this whole Apple versus Windows kind of thing, or Mac OS versus Windows. Um, and so what I tell people is that you've been using Facebook pretty much since its launch, when it went public outside of the colleges and sort of the teenage and early 20 somethings in college, because it was only used in that realm. You had to have a .edu email to use Facebook at one point.
Right.
We've been using Facebook for what do we say, the last 6-7 years. And so we started with not its infancy, but when it became public. And so we just became accustomed to the subtle changes over time. We became familiar with that platform. We learned how to use it, and it just became second nature to us to use Facebook. With Google Plus, however, folks are pushing back because not only is it another platform, but they don't understand it. But quite frankly, Google Plus is so much simpler than Facebook, and a lot of people don't understand that. But Google's focus here, now again, Google's advertising. That's their main focus, not being a search engine. Their corporate existence is because they're advertisers. But what Google Plus tries to do is really step up the engagement. Their focus is, and people have even said they get more engagement from their community over on Google Plus, sometimes tenfold in some scenarios, than they do over on Facebook. Because really, Facebook was trying to do one of those things where they said, okay, well, yeah, people are sharing photos and video, or quips or whatever, just jokes and stuff, and it was really personal. And so Facebook they tried to enter into the business aspect, and I think they just kind of botched it a little bit. Maybe they were just trying to do too much. Now, of course, you could probably say the same about Google, trying to do too much, because we were having technical difficulties with our Google Hangout. But I finally discovered it was actually my fault. My computer kind of bonked out. It was totally my fault. But that being said, Google Plus, if you have a Gmail account, then you have a Google Plus account. And so Google Plus is a place where you can try to get your community to engage over there. The posts over there that you post about your blog, or things that you really enjoy reading, or just some news over there, you'll probably find that you're going to get more click-through, more engagement. I know for me personally, I have more comments, more questions, more feedback coming both through Google Plus and YouTube than I have any other platform. Sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and I will see in my inbox, I will have several hundred comments that I have to filter through on some of the things that I do.
Now, for a small business owner, say a nurse entrepreneur who wants to really use Google Plus to their advantage, how is it that on Facebook, you ask people to like your page, obviously. So how do you engage people on Google Plus? What's the easy way to kind of get people into your circle?
Well, first off, let's talk about circles for a second. The circle is just like following someone, following their RSS feed, following their news feed. It's friending them. So what you want to do is find people on Google Plus. So let's say you sign up for the account. You go sign up for the Google account. And you get a Gmail account. And a lot of you have it out there. A lot of you have Google Plus profiles that you don't even know that you have.
Right.
Maybe you signed up for a Gmail account, years ago. Anyway, Google will initially try to find folks and brands that you are already aligned with, in the sense they know you're a nurse, or you've been posting things like that, or doing searches. Yeah, I know, it's Big Brother. And Google does keep track of those searches because they want to know, they build their advertising around that. But they'll find folks for you that might be aligned with you personally and professionally. So you circle them, and then hopefully they circle you back. And that's how you start building your community, just like Twitter followers. So it's just called a circle. So then when you do a post, or you post something, the beauty about circles is that you can create different circles. Now on Facebook, you have your friends and your family's just kind of lumped in there, and folks that you're sort of friendly with. Here's the thing, with Google Plus, you can pick and choose who goes in what circles. So for instance, I'll give you an example. I have a circle of nurses, only nurses. I have a circle of geeks and tech enthusiasts. I have a circle of business and entrepreneurs. I have a circle of friends and family. And I won't go on, but I do have more. So let's say that I wanted to post because I loved what Keith just wrote. And I'm like,
Oh, thank you,
wow,
Kevin.
I really want to post what Keith just said. So I take the link from his site, I put it on my Google Plus page. I have the ability to post it on my public page so anybody, anyone, whether they follow me or not, can see it. Or I can pick and choose and say, you know what? This is really for the nursing community out there. I am going to pick nurses to target. So what happens is those who follow me in my nursing community will then see in their news feed Keith's post. And I can even make a comment on it, like, you guys got to check this out because it's just mind blowing. You won't believe it. And so the folks who I just blasted out to, like nurses, they'll see it. And you have that option to do that with Google Plus. So you do have a little bit more control over who you follow and who you post to.
I see. Okay. So from the business standpoint then, you can also say I put a post up on my Google Plus page that's really specifically for nurses, and that's actually what most of my Google Plus posts are about. I can make it visible only to the people who are nurses in my circles, or I can just make it visible to everyone anyway if I want to.
hmm And really, Keith, here's the thing. Let's say you have an email list of people that in your target audience, one of your target audiences is working as a nurse burnout coach and mentor. So let's say that you have a list of folks that you want to keep in those circles, and you might want to share something with them and say, "Oh, I just got some new information from, the ANA or some medical journal or whatever it is that I wanted to share with you as a group," and you can target them directly. So to make sure that it ends up in their feed. Now let me give one caveat though. If somebody wants to find you and they look at your profile, they can certainly see what you're posting. But again, you can at least target those who might be interested in it. Whereas Facebook, that's the thing with filtering. You could have all these blasts out there, and somebody's like, "Well, I remember liking that page, but I don't want to, I don't need to know too much information about changing my oil or my air filter or whatever." So they try to turn it off, and really they just go unlike the page because they don't want to see it anymore. So really, you can at least, as an entrepreneur, you can target those that you feel will benefit most from the content that you're posting or providing to them.
I see. Okay, interesting. One thing I do like about Google Plus is that I can add someone, well, like say you, for instance. If I look for Kevin Ross on Google Plus, I can add you to my nursing circle, my friends circle. I have you in probably 5 different circles within there. So that's an interesting way to create different communities within my overall community. So I do really enjoy that a lot.
Right.
Now let's talk about in terms of nursing, say we're looking for information as a nurse, we can, of course, search on Twitter using the hashtag say nurse or nursing or nurses. How about on Google Plus? How do you search for particular data or information that you're looking for that you're interested in?
Well, here's the beauty about hashtags, Keith, is that it is cross-platform.
Mm,
So just like Twitter, now Twitter was the mother, father, so to speak, I believe, of hashtag and what that really means.
mhm.
But what other platforms have decided to do, Facebook, Google Plus, and there's Snapchat, Instagram, various other platforms, and I can pepper in just a few little tidbits on those. You can still follow hashtags over there. So for instance, right now I am on my Google Plus page for Innovative Nurse, and I am looking up the hashtag RNFM radio, and boom, I just found everything that is tagged with a hashtag RNFM radio. So not only if you follow hashtag RNFM radio over on Twitter, just follow hashtag RNFM radio on every platform that we exist, and you will find what is going on as long as that hashtag is used. Now, I use that as an example, but just like Google, if I want to find up in the top box, so I look at my Google Plus profile, there is the search section, search for people, pages, or posts. So
Mhm.
you just want to find something relevant that you are interested in. And so just like Google, what it will do, I probably should have typed in something a little bit more warm and fuzzy, but I didn't. Nurse bullying. I
Ooh.
just typed in nurse bullying, and the first thing that comes up, at least in my own feed, is Renee Thompson talking about her ending nurse bullying book, Do No Harm. And of course, there's Renee Thompson. Again, she's the nurse bullying expert. I see Andrew Lopez over there. Hashtag bullying and then nurse bullying. And so I can see these trends. So it is aggregating, it's curating rather, pulling in that information that I want access to. So if I want to know about nurse bullying on Google+, if somebody has tagged it or keyworded it or said something about nurse bullying within the content itself that's posted, I'm going to find it on Google+.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, Google, being a great search engine, they use a fantastic algorithm out there. I'm sure it's probably similar or the same, if not, that if you're looking for something on Google+, you're going to find it specifically. So then you just kind of weed through the news, and it just pops up as these, what they call cards. So almost like Pinterest, where you have these little sections, like these cards that pop up, and you can just kind of go through, scroll until you find something and just open it up, and it'll take you to where you need to go. So as an entrepreneur who's looking to maybe transition off of Facebook or fill the deficit with Facebook, I'm not saying completely pull yourself off there, because you still, as you said, Keith, you want to continue to engage with the community over there on Facebook.
Right. Of course.
You don't want to forget them, because I have to tell you personally, folks, I've almost deleted my profile. I said enough is enough. I'm sick of Facebook. But again, don't take that advice. What advice I am giving you, though, is just continue to keep a presence over there. Try to stay engaged with your community over there, because guess what? Eventually, they're going to exit. There are going to be fewer and fewer folks over there, and they're going to embrace these other platforms. Like I said, Twitter being one of them, and Google Plus being another one. And here's another thing, too. With Google Plus and Twitter, you can still have conversations with people. Now, Twitter's limited to the 140 characters, and I know that might be a huge limitation for a lot of people, but guess what? I have seen some heated discussions, both positive and negative, on Twitter. But the flow of conversation is just amazing to watch.
That's true.
And people just start jumping in, and like you see, like all of these at handles, like these, at so and so, and like I see a feed going, and then all of a sudden, I see like 20 people jumped in on that conversation.
That's very true. And in terms of the nursing community, if you hop on Twitter and just type in, any hashtag related to nursing or healthcare, you can find an amazing number of rich conversations. And that doesn't even mean, we're not even talking yet about tweet chats, where people have actually targeted conversations about particular topics that they really want to speak about. I know Andrew Lopez over at Nurse Friendly, he takes part in many tweet chats out there, and it's a really important, wonderful way to interact with people in a particular community. So if you're a nurse and you're looking for the hottest topics, just go over to Twitter, type nursing at the top or nurse, and you can really find there's not just jobs, there's a lot of conversation happening there. So it's very robust, even with the 140 character limit.
It is, and you're right. Those tweet chats can really be an eye-opening experience for you. Not only does it help build community and a presence for you, because you're certainly interacting with folks that you've never met before, but you really find them engaging. Some of them could be polarizing, so you got to be careful, and you can pick and choose. So be careful with Twitter. But again, you and I, Keith, we met on Twitter. I connected with Anna Morrison, and then she connected. You connected. Again, this was a Twitter marriage that resulted in RNFM radio, and of course another business venture, several business ventures that we've been involved in over the last few years. So don't discount it. Twitter's been around for a while. I've been with it since 2007, since it started, and it's just interesting to see how it's grown. Is it the end all be all? No. But I will say that for right now, Twitter is certainly a place where you can target your audience and create community, and certainly create engagement with your fellow nurses and entrepreneurs out there.
That's true. It really is a great place to go. And there are plenty of people out there who can help you if you really need some assistance getting started, or if you still haven't quite figured it out. You're not quite sure how to use it, leverage it, how to communicate clearly with people. And one thing I like to talk about in my coaching and my talking with other nurses is the authentic use of social media. That's something that I really am very passionate about. When it comes to LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, doesn't really matter. I really I support authentic, honest communication and often taking those relationships beyond simply connecting on social media. That's a whole nother conversation, but that's something I love to talk about as well.
Right. Well, I would agree with you. And the authenticity, Keith, this is a great transition into video. Now,
Hmm.
Google Plus and YouTube are heavily tied together. Why? Well, because Google owns YouTube. YouTube is the second largest search engine. Now, I realize, and Keith, you're aware of this. I'm very comfortable in front of the camera. I love the camera. I think my whole life is in front of the camera at sometimes, and my kids love it too. Which, there could be something wrong there, but I do spend a lot of time with YouTube. But here's the thing: from a business standpoint, Keith had pointed out the authenticity, the sincerity. Now you can hear the authenticity and sincerity in my voice. I really do care. We care. Our mission and philosophy is to help one voice, one message, and to really uplift the nursing profession. You
Right.
you know that. Adding the video component is only going to expand on that. It's only going to add to that authenticity and sincerity. And so Facebook, so you're a creator of content over on Facebook. You're sharing photos, video, content. You're a creator. What Facebook is also asking you to do by boosting your posts is to be an advertiser. They're almost one in the same over on Facebook, and this is how they see it. YouTube is a little bit different. Now, of course, YouTube, as a creator of content, the ratio between the creators and the advertisement, or I'm sorry, the consumer is huge. So let me go back and just clarify. Facebook, you're a creator, you're a consumer, you're an advertiser, almost all in one. With YouTube, there are, even though there are so many videos on YouTube, there really is only such a small amount of creators there on YouTube. And there are advertising opportunities over there, certainly. But the level of engagement on YouTube is, in some ways, for me as a business, is almost immeasurable. I mean, I want to talk, it's not even tenfold. It could be 20, 50, 60. I mean, we're talking tremendous numbers over there.
And why is that, Kevin? Why is it, say, a nurse entrepreneur starts using YouTube and it really increases the engagement of their community? What is it about video and what is it about YouTube itself, being owned by Google, of course, that changes the calculus of that?
Well, obviously, when you are in front of the camera and when we can see you as a consumer, when we can see you, and as your target audience, when we can see you, again, we have just increased the level of connection just by laying eyes on you physically. Again, I talked about the authenticity and sincerity. And of course, Google does a fantastic job when it comes to their analytics and their search. It is the second largest search engine. And people are like, well, wait a minute, it's a video platform.
Hmm.
Yes, but it is actually a search engine. Let me take an example. I want to learn how to build a spice rack. I do a search for Google. Probably one of the first things that pops up, a YouTube video on how to build a spice rack. Why did I pick a spice rack? I definitely don't want to learn how to build a spice rack. But you know what? YouTube has so many videos over there that will show me from community members over there that will show me how to build that spice rack. And the thing is that I might connect with this guy or gal because of their personality. I like the way they smile, or I like the way they laugh, or I like the way they talk to me, because you're not just talking at someone. When you're with the camera, you're talking with them or in a conversation, even though nobody's talking back to you. And that's how I really tell people to kind of get over that hump, to say, pretend like you're talking to someone. And
Because you are.
you are, and people are watching you and listening to you and looking at your like little idiosyncrasies or whatever. For instance, I don't have it here. I was gonna pull that up. I do. We did a Birchbox giveaway last year for Nurses Week,
Hmm.
And because of that Birchbox giveaway, I have been. My wife gets Birchbox, and what Birchbox is they send you samples of like lifestyle products, things like creams and sprays, and for the guys they send tech. Like they've sent me like socks and collar stays for my collared shirts, and all kinds of cool like little tech for my phones and things like
You
that.
wear collared shirts, Kevin?
I do.
Oh
I
my gosh.
do. It's so funny. I was like undressing on the way into the studio. I was like, get that thing off, rip it off, and I'm in my t-shirt now.
Right.
So sometimes I got to represent. Anyway, not to belabor the point, but what I do these little Birchbox openings, and I talk about what's going on in my Birchbox, and I talk about these things like, am I going to really use this product, or is this like a silly product, or what? Well, the funny thing is I actually have other corporations who have reached out to me and said, I love your style. Can I send you some products to review, and then you record it, and share that with your community?
Interesting.
So I didn't mean to sort of jump the gun here and talk about sponsorship and reviewing products and things like that. But someone is watching me. Someone is listening.
Hmm.
They, I'll get emails and say, you are the goofiest guy I've watched on YouTube. That's not true because there's so many goofier people on there. But they might say, like, I really love your flair. I love your sense
Right.
of, authenticity. Because you know what? There are reviewers out there of products and services that they're pretty biased. And of course, yes, I like what I like, but I have to figure out what's going to be somebody else's use case, and I try to give them as unbiased an opinion as I can.
Wow. So you found that YouTube is really a great way to increase engagement and to really showcase you and who you are and your predilections and preferences, the things you like and don't like. And people have come to trust you and look to you for information and also, in a way, I mean, you could say for entertainment.
Right. Because that's really what people do go to YouTube for, first and foremost, is entertainment.
I think it's really they go for cats. I
Well, for
think that's
cats too.
really,
And
yeah,
what does the fox say?
right,
And Charlie biting the baby's finger, or the baby Charlie who's biting his brother's finger,
right.
and of course Gangnam Style and all that other stuff.
Hmm.
Certainly, people do want to get a laugh, but it is interesting, Keith, because I was telling you this earlier. I'll have a community out there of tech enthusiasts, and I'll do a review on a tech piece, and I'll get tens of thousands of views on it.
Mm,
And the review or whatever, like in my eyes, because I'm my own worst critic, as we all are, might be like mediocre at best. But somebody loves it. Well, tens of thousands of people do.
right.
So you can reach an audience, I would say, on YouTube much quicker than some of the other more traditional platforms, and Facebook being one of them, even though a lot of people are on Facebook.
Well, Kevin, I'm going to say here on the air that you have converted me in terms of video. I actually did a few videos while we were at the NNBA conference in October, and we have done a couple little RNFM video things, and I'm going to be actually setting up a YouTube channel sometime early this year that's sort of on my to-do list, so to speak. I'm engaging with someone here in Santa Fe who can help me create the things I want to create to make my YouTube channel look the way I want it to look. So I'm actually going to be jumping in the fire sometime in the next few months.
Well, I think you'll be nice, warm, and cozy in the fire. You won't get burned. I hope not.
I
Uh,
hope not.
yeah, and I think what it does, Keith, is that there are nurses out there that want to know what you have to say. And take it back to even traditional cable.
Hmm.
Cable is going by the wayside. We haven't had cable in many, many years. We stream a lot of the media, but the beauty about it is that we get to pick and choose what we watch. Same thing on YouTube.
That's true.
If I want to know about nurse bullying, and Renee Thompson's on there, you better bet I'm going to subscribe to her channel because I want to get what she's I want to pick up what she's laying down. Same thing with you, a nurse burnout coach. If that's what you're doing at the moment, or whatever it is, you can take your channel in so many different directions. But if I want to know what's going on with you, I subscribe to your channel, and so anytime you post something new, I'm going to get that in my feed, and I'm going to watch you. And again, I get choice. I get to choose who, when, and where, what I'm watching.
Right. Great point. Great point. Now, I know we're about 45 minutes in. We're going to talk for another 15 minutes or so. We don't
Sure.
want to take this too far because people have other things to do and other things to listen to and watch, even though, we're so interesting, I know. But I wanted to move on to LinkedIn. Can we talk about LinkedIn for a second?
You know what? I feel like, Keith, I have probably monopolized most of the conversation because of these are things that I'm experiencing. Why don't you take the reins here on LinkedIn and let's talk about that because I know you're a guru over there.
Well, I'm working on it, Kevin. That's one thing I'm leveraging here in my life because LinkedIn is something that I've found is just a really interesting platform. And you haven't monopolized, you've just been sharing your passion and your excitement. So that's totally fine with me. But one thing I find with LinkedIn is that people don't realize that it's really actually a search engine that's disguised as a social media platform. That's what a lot of people are saying out there. It's not just a social media where you connect with people. It's actually a search engine, and it's a very, very powerful one. Now, a lot of people go on LinkedIn, they set up a pretty I would say not very robust profile. And then they just basically start taking LinkedIn's recommendations and sending requests to connect with others. And then once those other people accept the requests, people don't really know what to do with them. So what I see happening over on LinkedIn is a lot of people don't really know how to use the platform. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to leverage those relationships in any way. And I think a lot of people just go on LinkedIn and they start collecting contacts because they don't really know what else to do. So one thing I'm doing in my coaching these days, what I'm offering is to help people first maximize their profile. Because if you look at LinkedIn as a powerful search engine, how do search engines work? How do people find things in search engines? They find them with keywords. So one thing about your profile is it needs to be peppered, not in a manipulative way. We're not manipulative in social media. We just use keywords because we want to be found, right? We want to be seen and we want visibility. So your keywords are so important in your LinkedIn profile. And once you start using those keywords and leveraging that within your profile, it's amazing the type of engagement you can see and the ways that you see you come up in searches because you can actually see who's searching and how often you're coming up in those searches. And now a lot of those people might be headhunters who are looking for people for jobs, which actually could be in your benefit if you're looking for a job. But it is a really incredible and robust platform. So one thing that I help people with first is just maximizing their profile, using the profile to basically showcase what it is you do and who you are and what your specialties are and where your strengths lie. And if you're an entrepreneur, you can manipulate your profile so that you're really showcasing the entrepreneurial work that you do. So people used to look at LinkedIn profiles as basically an online resume, but it's really a lot more than that. And Kevin, I'm wondering, have you found that's the case for you and your use of that particular platform?
Well, you've hit on so many key points here, Keith, and certainly to stress that if you're starting with LinkedIn, finish your profile, get it
Yes,
complete, and use it to your advantage.
absolutely.
Um, I tell people too, be careful with those connections. Now, I like to connect with other nurses out there that we've had on the show,
Hmm.
and other like-minded nurses, because here's the thing: a project or fee for service or something could come up, and you might need to tap into somebody who could have some knowledge about something. And connecting with folks who might be either like minded in a very similar business
Hmm.
or could complement what you do could be very beneficial to you. Don't just connect with people just to connect and get the numbers up. Again, that's not the idea there. Just like Twitter followers, you want engagement and you want valuable connections over there. So with LinkedIn, I align myself with, let's say a nurse who specializes in diabetic education. Well, let's say that I have an opportunity that came up that a company wants to hire my company to do some work with diabetic education. And maybe I don't know, like I might be an expert, but let's say that this woman is really an expert, really renowned out there, really well versed and just articulate. What if I connect with her on LinkedIn and we engage online, and we might build a relationship, a collaborative agreement, and maybe even a financial agreement that I bring her on my team,
Right.
because and virtually so. Because Keith, you and I, we work virtually, and we work virtually with others who we've never met before, and we actually have business transactions that occur with folks that we've never met.
That's true. Very good point. Now, Kevin, I wanted to say a little bit more about that in terms of what you were saying, don't just connect with everyone, because that's pretty much what most people do on LinkedIn. They just send invitations willy-nilly. One thing I caution people about is just accepting every non-personalized invitation to connect that you receive. There's no one out there saying you have to say yes to every invitation. So when I receive an invitation, and I would say 99.5% of the invitations I receive are not personalized, it's just the generic thing saying, hey, I'd like to add you to my LinkedIn contacts, or whatever it is that it says these days. Now, there's a choice when you receive one of those. You don't have to say accept invitation. You can actually say reply, but don't accept yet. So when you go over to your invitations next to your inbox, you can click on the little down arrow and say reply, don't accept yet. And one of my little secrets is in Word, I have a document written up, which is my basic generic response to a non-personalized LinkedIn invitation. So what I do is I cut that, paste it into a reply to that particular person, and I send it to them. But I add their name, and I also first I read their profile, learn a little something about them, and I make a little guess at why they might want to connect with me. And then if they respond to me, then I connect with them. Then I accept. So that's how I screen people out, because and in my my response, I also try to educate them that most LinkedIn experts don't recommend sending a non-personalized generic invitation to others. And when I do find someone on LinkedIn that I want to connect with, I send them a very personalized invitation. I send them a note which highlights things I liked about their profile, ways in which I feel like we might have things in common, and I invite them to get on the phone and chat with me. So I'd say I probably have about 4 conversations a week on average with people who I meet on LinkedIn, usually because I make those conversations happen.
So would you say from a business perspective, because I was talking about the opportunities to collaborate. What about the communities over there? Do you engage within those communities? Like there's nurse entrepreneur groups and professional groups over there.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I definitely do that. I am active in a number of groups. There are incredible groups on LinkedIn. And if I have a question, if I have an issue that I want to resolve, if I have a business issue, a clinical issue, I post it on one of those groups. And lo and behold, usually within the first day, I receive quite a few responses. So it's a great place to tell people about what you're doing, but it's also a great place to ask questions and have mysteries or resolved, or get opinions on something that you want to try, something you want to do, or something you just want to know about. So it's an amazing resource.
So it actually might be one of those things where you might be more likely to find an expert, someone who has a little bit more skin in whatever game that you're playing, and you might be able to tap into their knowledge from
True.
a professional standpoint.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just have great conversations. I just spent an hour on the phone with someone yesterday who I met on LinkedIn through one of my groups. And we had a great conversation. We may not ever do business together, and we may not ever, you know, actually refer clients to one another, but we've become friends, and she's a resource. And I want to say something else that I'm really excited about these
Yeah.
days on
Yeah.
LinkedIn,
Sure.
that when you go over to your network on LinkedIn and you go to your contacts, when you click on someone, like say I'll just pick someone who's one of my contacts. I'm looking here now. Underneath their picture, you'll see a little box that says relationship and it has a star next to it. Now you can click on that relationship tab. You can take notes when you're talking to them on the phone or just make notes about them. You can set a reminder, say you know they're starting a new job and you want to congratulate them or say you want to call them in a month. You can also click on how you met. You can type in who introduced you, and this is not something anyone can see other than you. So it's kind of like a Rolodex. And so I can type in how I met them, what we talked about, and then there's also a tag. So I can tag people. So I've been tagging nurses, friends, family, RNFM radio alumni, so that I have a group that I can connect with around a particular issue if I want. So if I want to see all my family on LinkedIn, I can find all my family. Or if I want to find all the LinkedIn guests, I can find those. So it's a great way to have a really robust Rolodex right there in your LinkedIn profile. So I just wanted to say that's just a new thing that I've been really excited about.
Well, and Keith, it is interesting that you. It sounds very familiar, doesn't it? We were just talking about Google Plus, how you
That's right.
circle folks and you actually can categorize them. And to be honest, you're right. It is like an online, a virtual Rolodex. It is a
Hmm.
technological Rolodex. And I too like that, and to tag people and to sort of group them. Not that I'm labeling you, but I have to label you in some way to either categorize a memory that I have of you, working with you, or whatever that is, to sort of help that. Because it's kind of, I think it's a little insane sometimes. In my phone, my phone that I carry around with me, I have over 600 contacts in there. 600. And you think, well, how's that possible? And I mean, I won't even talk about that, but what I have to do is put tags and notes and things like that in there that reminds me, oh yeah, maybe I haven't talked to this person in 2 years, but there's going to be a time that I'm going to talk to this person. It is likely that I will revisit sometime within my life, my career, that I'm going to revisit them in my contacts. And I like the ability to tag and group people so that when I'm looking for a cohort or a group of folks that I need to target with a question or a concern or whatever that is, then I can find them a lot more easily because maybe I know them by their first name, but I couldn't remember the last name. Or typically, if you can learn, remember the last name, then you're probably good to go. But how many Johns or Davids or Carols, could be in your virtual Rolodex? And so to be able to tag them to say, well, Carol who works with special needs kids, or whatever tag that you give them, or circle or whatever.
Right. And now there's another great thing on LinkedIn when you're in your contacts. Say you're going to a conference or a meeting in, I don't know, let's say Atlanta, Georgia, where my sister lives. Now, imagine you're going to be in Atlanta for 4 days. You don't know anyone, for instance. You don't have a sister there like I do. And you want to connect with some other nurses or people that you know. All you do is you go into your contacts, you filter by location, you type in Atlanta, Georgia. You can see all of your LinkedIn contacts who live and work in Atlanta. And if you wanted to, you could even set up a dinner, and you could have dinner with as many of those contacts as could make it that night. So it's a great way to connect with people if you're going to a particular place and you'd like to do a little networking while you're there.
Case in point,
Hmm.
I met yesterday with Lori Brown of Empowered Nurses over at empowerednurses.org,
Hmm.
and she knew, oh, wait, Kevin is in Colorado. He's in the Denver area. I'm going to be in Denver this week. And she looked me up. And, of course, I think you and I are both collaborating on something that, a launch that she's got toward the end of February, where I believe you're part of that. And a couple of other nurse entrepreneurs out there. But the funny thing is like I said, she remembered. He's in Colorado. She had tagged me. She found somehow, and so she looked me up. Even though we were going to work together in the future, she remembered that and she wanted to meet. So we met yesterday for the first time,
That's great.
an RNFM radio reunion. Here's another thing, Keith. You talked about you sort of dipping your toe into the flame of YouTube and video, and Lori has really taken the step and just leaped forward into YouTube. She has a lot of videos that she is compiling. True story, and I won't give up because I don't want to tell people where she's staying because I don't need her to be bombarded. But we went to the where she was staying into the lobby to collaborate on a couple of things and talk about this upcoming event that she has. And she wanted to record me right there with her about what it is I'm going to be talking about. And she had no qualms about it. She's like, nope, we're going to use my iPhone. We're going to take some video. And she's like, no, here, let's go over here. We went to the salon next door. We just grabbed one of the girls over there in the salon. She wasn't styling hair or doing anything. I would say she wasn't doing anything. She just happened to be at the desk. The salon wasn't really busy at the time. And Lori, as bold as she was, she took that camera and she said, hey, can you please record just a few minutes of Kevin and I here in your salon because the lighting is perfect, and I just wanted to talk about this new launch, and Kevin's going to be a part of it.
That's great.
Yeah, she just recorded it right there, and I was like, wow, I didn't know. Like, of course, I didn't want to put the brakes on. I love video and stuff, and I just wanted to applaud her efforts to do that. So I didn't mean to go off on a tangent. I guess what I wanted to say is to connect what you said, Keith, to tag people where they're located, to know where they're located, and sort of keep that as a reminder, hey, I'm going to be in this area. And then, of course, then use another platform, YouTube, for example, to really show that connection. Like, yep, we're here, we've met, this is what we're doing. We're working on something, and this is how cool it is, and you can see how excited we are by the excitement on our faces, the smiles on our faces.
Right.
And it was a real genuine interaction.
That's great. That's beautiful, Kevin. So, we've touched on LinkedIn, we've touched on Google+, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We've covered just about everything. There's many other platforms we could talk about, like Pinterest and
Sure.
Instagram and all these others. But we've been on the call here for about an hour, and I think people maybe have heard enough for now. But I think these are some things we should definitely talk about again.
Right.
And we might want to have a couple LinkedIn experts on sometime and really just do a roundtable talking about all the innovations and how that platform's become much more robust.
Right.
So I think we could dig into each of these platforms and really talk deeply about the benefits of all of them to nurses clinically and in terms of your interests in what you would like to explore in your career, and then also for the entrepreneurs out there.
Yeah, I think we had broad strokes today. We can certainly break each platform down into some of the basics. One thing I did want to leave the audience with, just one piece of knowledge, because Google Plus, there's some news out there, and I want to help you remedy the situation. Is that apparently on Google Plus, if somebody goes on your profile, if you don't make it public, they won't see your email address. But let's say that they wanted to email you, and they see you on Google Plus. In their email client, as they start typing your name, your Google Plus profile will come up. So there is a chance that you'll start getting emails from people that you don't really want to get emails from. Again, they don't see your email, especially if it's not public. Here's how you opt out. And unfortunately, Google should have just made it an opt-in. Go to your Gmail account, the interface there. Go all the way over to the right and click the gear, the wheel. That's your settings. You go over to the settings, and then that should open up your, if you go to settings, just click settings, that should open up then a general tab in the settings. Scroll down to Google Plus, receive emails via Google Plus, and uncheck that, or pull down the toggle box, and it'll say either receive from everyone, receive from your circles, or receive from no one. Now, not everybody has that right now. Google is launching that and peppering that in slowly. So if you can go to your settings and it might not be there. It doesn't mean that it won't happen though. So keep checking, because over the next couple of weeks, Google is rolling that out. It's a slow rollout. I just wanted to leave the audience with that, because some of you might say, well, I don't want to sign up for a new platform and get all of these random emails from people that I don't really want to hear from.
Right.
So
good point.
Just
Very
one
good
caveat
point.
there. There is a solution, and it
Yes.
is in your general settings of your Gmail, and there will be
Right.
a checkbox.
I just went there myself and changed it to my circles, that people in my circles can email me.
Okay, so then you saw that, Keith. Okay, so
Yes.
Keith has it rolled out. I have
It's there.
several Google accounts, and I think 2 of them have it and 3 of them don't. So
Right. Good point.
keep checking
Great
back.
point.
Keep
Good
checking
to
back.
know.
So keep yourself secure and safe out there when you're using social media, and certainly think twice before you post anything, because
That's
again,
right.
it's representative of you personally and professionally.
That's true. So, Kevin, I just want to take a moment to talk about what's coming up on the show. Next week, January 29th at 3 o'clock Eastern, we have episode 100, and we do have some special guests and special giveaways that day. And is that going to be a live show, Kevin?
Well, I am hoping that it is going to be a live show. Again, I think the snafu today was on my end, my technical end here with my browser. But I am going to work feverishly on having that a live event.
Okay.
And not just because it's the 100th show,
All
but
right.
but of course it would be a nice little kickoff. But just because that's really where we want to take the show, is to have a live component again, that we did on Blog Talk Radio, but on other platforms. So
Right.
we'll
So
get back
stay
to the drawing
tuned,
board.
folks. We will get back to you about episode 100 on February 5th, 2 weeks from today at 3 o'clock Eastern. We have Seth Hammock. He's an expert medical interpreter in Austin, Texas, and he'll be talking about how you as a nurse can utilize medical interpreters to your advantage and to the advantage of your patients. And if you're a nurse with facility for language, how interpreting might be a sideline or maybe a new specialty for you. And on February 12th, 3 weeks from today, we have Renee Thompson and Susan Strauss, Nurse Bullying Roundtable. They are two of the foremost experts in the United States on nurse bullying and horizontal violence. And Kevin, we do hope that's going to be a live show as well, so that we can have call-ins and a chat on Google Hangouts during that show. And finally, February 19th, we have Sarah Brennan Mott of nurseborn.com. She's a nurse inventor and entrepreneur, and she's going to be hosting other nurse inventors there too with their specialty products. So you want to listen in then if you want to learn about how to launch a product and maybe align yourself with Sarah Brennan Mott of Nurseborn if you have a product you want to get out into the world. So she has an interesting story and should be great. And we have guests scheduled throughout March, April, and now into May. Check our schedule at rnfmradio.com, and we'll keep sending out information on all of our platforms that we've mentioned today: Facebook, Google Plus, Twitter, YouTube, etc. And you can find out what's happening at RNFM. So, Kevin, it's been a great conversation. This was fun, just you and me for, it's a rare occasion when it's just the two of us on the show. Thanks for being my friend. Thanks for being a great tech guru and great co-host here at RNFM Radio. So I'm going to let you close out the show. And all of you have a great week, and we'll be back for episode 100 on January 29th.
Well, sounds great, Keith. And again, I enjoy being your co-host and, of course, your friend. You are definitely chock full of wonderful, helpful information out there, and I know that our community loves it. So continue to innovate and create. And, of course, feel free to head over to rnfmradio.com and listen to all of our shows archived. I just checked. Our site is back up. There was a technical glitch there, but not anymore. Go to the Listen Now button, and you'll find all of our shows archived. And while you're doing that, work on your self-care. Work on what you're doing, your brand, your personal brand, and your professional brands, and just take it to the moon and find something that moves the needle for you. And we look forward to having you back here with us again on RNFM Radio.